When we hear Korea, our minds often jump to extremes. On one side, North Korea, a totalitarian regime synonymous with isolation and oppression. On the other hand, South Korea's tech-dependent democracy, praised for K-pop, Samsung, and skyscrapers. But look deeper, and the disturbing truth emerges. Both Koreas embody different forms of dystopia. Let's begin with North Korea, a textbook authoritarian state. Ruled by the Kim dynasty since 1948, it's often called the most isolated country in the world. Here, the regime controls every aspect of life. What you say, where you live, how you think. There are no elections, no free press, and no freedom of movement. Citizens are born into a system that assigns them a social class, called songbon, based on their family's political loyalty. This classification determines their access to jobs, food, and even marriage. The country is gripped by chronic food shortages, with some reports suggesting that millions face hunger each year. Most of the national resources go toward the military or nuclear programs, not healthcare or education. Even speaking ill of the leader or not crying enough at a funeral can land you in a brutal labor camp, alongside with your family, thanks to the policy of guilt by association. Information is tightly controlled. Most citizens have never accessed the internet or seen a foreign film. Propaganda floods every corner of life, glorifying the Kims as godlike figures. And yet, this tightly wound society is also deeply fragile. Defections are rising. Smuggled flash drives and balloon-dropped leaflets bring glimpses of outside life. And while repression remains absolute, the cracks in the regime are visible. But the dystopia doesn't end there. Cross the border into South Korea, and you'll find a different reality. Modern, dynamic, global. Yet beneath the surface lies a less obvious but deeply embedded dystopia, one dominated by chaebols, massive family-run conglomerates that operate like corporate monarchies. Samsung, Hyundai, LG, SK Group. These companies don't just drive South Korea's economy. They shape its politics, media, and legal system. Together, they account for nearly half the GDP, and their leaders, often untouchable. Take Lee Jae-young, the de facto leader of Samsung. He was convicted of bribery in connection with the former president Park Geun-hye's scandal in 2017. Though sentenced to prison, he was released after just a year and Lee later pardoned, all in the name of economic stability. This isn't unusual. South Korea has a history of pardoning corrupt chaebol executives, reinforcing a two-tier justice system, one for ordinary citizens and another for the powerful elite. These conglomerates also shape the country's job market and culture. South Korean youth face immense pressure to land jobs at top chaebols, with brutal competition, long hours, and toxic work environments being the norm. Small businesses and independent innovators often get crushed or brought out. The result? A society of exhausted workers, rigid class mobility, and a political system that bows to corporate interests. South Korea may be a democracy on paper, but in practice, it's very corrupt, where wealth shields wrongdoers and economic growth justifies injustice. Dystopia is not always loud. Sometimes it's hidden behind neon lights and economic statistics. While North Korea's nightmare is public and gruesome, painted in fear and silence, South Korea's is quiet, powered by capitalism, masked by modernity. Both Koreas, so different, yet deeply troubled, serve as warnings. One of unchecked authoritarianism and the other of unrestrained corporate power. And in both, the price is paid by ordinary people. The Korean Peninsula reminds us that dystopia doesn't wear a single face. It can take the form of dictatorship or disguise itself as democracy. In the end, what matters most is not the system's name, but how it treats its people.